Call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the City of Joliet Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 7th, 2023, 6:30 here in the council chambers. This meeting will be, the Honorable Mayor Oderberg will be presiding. We will have the invocation given by Pastor Darius Thomas Curtis, Brown Chapel, AME, Church of Joliet, located at 1502 East Mills Road. After that, if you would lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this great honor. Shall we pray? Lord, oh Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth. We take time now to praise and laud you because you are eternal, immortal, dependable, and wise in all of your ways. You, O God, are high and lifted up, but you're mindful and concerned for your creation. You are magnanimous yet and majestic. You are mighty, yet you are merciful. You are powerful, yet you're patient. You are Lord, but you're also loving. Tonight we stop and say thank you for your undying and eternal love. Oh God, we say that we see your splendor in all the earth. And even as we consider the lilies of the field and the birds of the air, we see your revealed glory. Now, God, we ask that you would manifest your presence and your power in this sacred space. We ask for your wisdom. We ask for your compassion. We ask that you would lead and guide us, that you would equip us, that you would grant us the strategies necessary to be competent and compassionate. Help us to remember the marginalized, those suffering, the disinherited, and the dispossessed. And now, oh God, we have one final request. We ask a special blessing upon these servant leaders. Bless our mayor, bless our council persons, bless our police, bless our fire persons, bless every department head and support staff, bless our homes, bless our health, bless our heart, bless this nation, bless this state. And oh God, we ask that you would bless Joliet. It's in Jesus Christ's name that we pray with thanksgiving and with expectation. Let those that agree say amen. 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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's quite a prayer. Thank you.
Pastor, very nice.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Oderberg.
Here.
Councilman Clement.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Guerrero.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Here.
First is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Motion carried. We have citizens to be heard on agenda items. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on an agenda item? Seeing none. Council committee reports. First is public safety.
Okay. Public safety met this evening at 5:30 in council chambers. Present was Councilman Clement, Councilman Hogg, myself, Jan Quillman is the chair, and we had Chief Jeff Carey, and Fire Department, and Jeff Price. We discussed 3 items which are on the agenda for this evening, and the reason we had to do it was so that we could get the costs before it went up. That's why we met with the committee earlier, so we could get it on the agenda for tonight. So, purchase of a new chest compression for the Joliet Fire Department from Stryker. This particular chest compression is up to date. It's for decompression, which is 20% saved now on cardiac arrest, because what it does, it presses the chest, but then it also decompresses, and they find that to be much better instead of always pounding. So that'll be 9 of those for all 9 departments. And then it's a cost of $135,454.86. And the next one will be purchase of battery operated cots for the fire department, and these are lighter weight. And they got a deal with Stryker that there's, after 10 years, in the past, it's been, after 10 years, we're not gonna repair it. Well, they bought it from them with no caps, so if in 10 years something needs to be replaced, Stryker will do so. And that's also for 9 new cots. And last but not least, for the agenda for tonight, the stair lift chairs from Furno, and that's the amount of $38,406.60. And I correct myself, the battery operated cots are also from Furno. And so that's also on the agenda, and that's $38,406.60, as I said. And this will be coming on the 21st, or the next, if you want to move it up, or we can have an extra meeting whenever. But we also talked about the purchase of 2 ambulance bodies for the Joliet Fire Department in the amount of $728,000, $754 total. And there's a grant of $150,000 that is part of that $728,000. So Mr. Jeff Price has been working on that, and they're going to be looking for other grants as well. And this particular ambulance was run by all the firemen and firewomen, and they really wanted to get this particular ambulance. It's going to work a lot better for them. So that concludes my report. Guys, you have anything else you want to add?
No, we covered everything.
Got it all? So that concludes my report. Thank you. You know what? I just want to say one thing. We are so proud of our Joliet Fire Department, the way they handled that Patrick Haley Mansion fire. Within 40 minutes, they had that under control. And for a very old building that started in the attic, it was amazing. And they were able to save a lot of things. And the rest of the building, it was untouched, just smoke. The ballroom and everything else is intact. And it's my understanding from Jeff Busan that he'll be back up and running in about 3 months, depending on the insurance. He plans to restore everything, because there's a lot of people that are kind of disappointed because of weddings and other events that are going on there. And that could have been us last year, because we just had a wedding in November. So again, I'm very proud of our fire department, the chief, and everybody that came out that day to save that old building, because I just kept thinking about the one in Chicago. It went up like that, and it's so historic and very important to Joliet. So that concludes our report now. Thank you.
Public service.
Excuse me. The Public Service Committee met here yesterday at 4:30 in the afternoon, here in the council chambers. On the committee in attendance was Councilwoman Gavin, Councilman Morris, and myself, as well as the Director of Public Utilities, Allison Swisher, Director of Public Works, Greg Ruddy, and several other staff members. We had 4 contracts that were reviewed. One was a contract to remove trees from Olympic Boulevard, which is part of the larger Rock Run crossing development happening at 55 and 80. That was a contract for $49,677. We also looked at a contract for roadway mapping and asset capture. For those of you that are familiar with the Google 360 program, where you can go anywhere you want and see in a 360, by using your cursor, this is going to be even more accurate for our purposes. It's going to be Joliet's own. Some other communities outside of Joliet are interested in participating, the county, the township possibly, because they share with us. But this would also help us. If you call and you have a street light out, we'll be able to actually locate that street light. The staff will immediately on this program. So we looked at that contract, which would be $183,520. That is not the cost per year. The cost per year, I believe, is $12,000, if I remember. That's the startup. That's going out and mapping every mile of our 1,600 lane miles that we have throughout the city, and setting up the program for us, and then getting the data so it's usable. So it's kind of an exciting thing for me. And we also had some GPS survey equipment, which is going to help bolster our ongoing and almost completed GPS mapping of the city. And then we looked at 2 2 Ford Ranger pickups from Terrapelli Ford and 1 from Castle Ford. They pulled a fast one, and we have to give our staff credit for that. We're supposed to only get 2, so we got 2 through Terrapelli, and the other, Castle, didn't quite make the bid. But then Castle was able to free one up through their allotment, so Joliet gets 3. So that's kudos to staff for getting us during these hard times when you can't get these types of things and they put caps on it. Maybe I shouldn't have said that publicly because now Ford's going to call me. So change orders, pay estimates, and final payments. We looked at 4 different items under there and did review all of them and found them to be in order. Then under ordinance and resolutions, again, some housekeeping, some general items that were reviewed. There were 3 special services areas that we reviewed and to be sent to the full council for consideration. That would be Broadway Street from Jefferson Street to West Marion Street, Cora Street from Frank Avenue to Russell Street, and Stone Street from North Center Street to North Hickory Street. Those special services areas are so that these are areas that still don't have older sections, curbs and gutter storm sewers, and every year we do several blocks of those. So it's kind of housekeeping that we have to actually formally set them up as a special service. Individual homeowners, as it's a you pay to participate, so to speak, but it's capped at $400 for an individual owner-occupied home. So very affordable. And that's pretty much all I had. Did I miss anything, Terry or Buddy?
I think you covered everything, so.
I think that's it.
All right, so all 3 of us unanimously on all the items, Mayor, did send them all forward with our recommendation as committee that this full council should approve them. And that would be my report. Thank you.
Okay, then we have Committee on Citizens with Disabilities.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, you asked me to sit in on this meeting here, the Committee on Citizens with Disabilities. There was no quorum on January 26th due to the weather, but there was some discussion. Kristen Benson, Information Services Manager, shared information with the committee on the City of Joliet Citizen View and the City of Joliet app that we have for the citizens to report issues within the city by using that app. Russ Lubash, our traffic engineer, shared information with the committee on the City of Joliet's ongoing progress on the updating of sidewalks, crosswalks, and street signals to meet the ADA compliance requirements. And then one of the committee members requested an American Sign Language interpreter, and she was very thankful for Chrissy McNichol and Pauline Ames for coordinating that. So she was very, very thankful and helped her out through the meeting. So our next meeting will be February 21st here in the council chambers at 1 o'clock. So.
Thank you.
I show no other reports. Under consent agenda, we have approval of minutes. It is recommended the minutes of the council meeting held on January 17th, 2023 stand approved as recorded. Council memo 4823, position vacancies. It is recommended the city manager be authorized to fill 2 additional summer interns in community development and 1 summer intern in the IT department. Council memo 49-23, award a contract for the Olympic Boulevard tree removal project to Homer Tree Service, Inc., in the amount of $49,677. Council memo 50-23, award a contract for NPDES water quality compliance analytical testing services to Suburban Labs in the amount of $49,104, to Environmental Inc., Midwest Lab, ATI, in the amount of $13,500, and to Tech Lab Inc. in the amount of $13,515. Council memo 51-23, award a contract to Vonage Business for telecommunication services in the amount of $720,000. Council memo 52-23, purchase of battery-operated cots for the Joliet Fire Department from Furno in the amount of $176,716.80. Council memo 53-23, purchase of stair lift chairs for the Joliet Fire Department from Furno in the amount of $38,406.60. Council Memo 54-23, purchase of chest compression devices for the Joliet Fire Department from Stryker Lucas Devices in the amount of $135,454.86. Council Memo 55-23, purchase of above-ground portable lifts to service new style ambulances to Napa Genuine Parts in the amount of $86,941.80. Council Memo 56-23, approve emergency repairs to well 18D to Great Lakes Water Resources Group in the amount of $51,818. Council Memo 57-23, change order number 5A and change order number 6 for the 2021 sanitary sewer rehabilitation program to Performance Pipelining, Inc. in the amount of $13,000 and negative $17,244.53 respectively. Council Memo 58-23, change order number 2 for the 2022 sidewalk curb replacement project, East Area to Austin Tyler Construction, Inc. in the amount of $42,150.10, and payment estimate number 2 in the amount of $37,983.97. Council Memo 59-23, change order number 1 for the 2022 aluminum sulfate solution purchase to Usulco Michigan City Plant LLC in the amount of $83,846.20. Council Memo 60-23, change order number 1 for the 2022 Utilities Restoration Program to Lindblad Construction Company of Joliet, Inc. in the amount of $41,008.37, and pay request number 6 and final in the amount of $84,110.84. It is recommended Council Memos 49-23 through 60-23 be approved. Is there a motion to approve all said consent agenda items?
So move.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillen.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Aye.
Next is under public hearings. We have Council Memo 61-23, public hearing for and request for approval for an ordinance establishing the 2023 Joliet Special Service Area Number 1, Broadway Street, West Jefferson Street through West Marion Street. This is a public hearing, so comments are in order at this time.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this item?
I'd like to speak.
Step up, please.
I am Josh Tippner. I own the property with my wife, Tara, at 34 North Broadway. We've owned it for about 17 years now, so we've had it for quite a while. I have a couple questions and concerns on it. One being the need for it. The property that I own currently has curb. It's got sewer right there. It's got concrete apron. I've already got grass, so why am I being assessed $1,500 for something that I already have?
Jim, the city staff want to make or answer some of this?
Well, I believe in this particular instance, not all those, it's along the entire street, so everything would be placed all at once. They're not going to skip it over, so they'd be getting new curbs, new sidewalks, all of it. So it's not as if they would not be getting anything out of it. So that's part of it.
The
Greg?
curb was just replaced 2 years ago. So I have a fully functioning curb. It's concrete and along with concrete apron already. So I'm not quite sure, again, why I'm...
Again, they are not going to skip it. They're going to do it all in one large length.
So you're gonna rip out a perfectly good curb and put in a new curb?
Sir, I'm not going to debate that with you. I just explained it to you, so that's what it is.
Greg?
Yeah, so it's not just curb, it's also roadway-based storm sewer. I believe there is combined storm sewer and sanitary sewer out there. We'll be separating it out. The curb in front of the gentleman's property may be okay, but there is deteriorating curb all along So, as the city manager indicated, we can't really skip a property to do that. Potentially changing grades on the curb as well in order to get better drainage. So typically remove all the curb and sort of change the slope of the curb to drain, install additional drains, that type of thing.
So,
Are you guys familiar with that area? Like, you guys know the street right next to it, Oneida, that is completely falling apart? I mean, it's got more potholes and more patches than actual asphalt left in there. And there's not a curb on that entire street.
So I can speak to that. Oneida was originally part of our plan to replace this year. However, through coordination with the Department of Public Utilities, there's going to be a transmission line run down Oneida Street as part of the water supply project. So we deferred the improvements on the road until after that project is completed. At least several years from now. So we didn't want to redo that road and then tear it up again in 2 years to install the water main. So that will be addressed. If there's pothole short-term things we can do there, we will certainly do that. But the whole reconstruction has been deferred until after the water main's installed.
Sounds like you guys have made your decision already. I mean, this is a large amount of money for somebody like us that has an apartment building there. We already pay a high amount in taxes. I believe part of that goes to the road fund, doesn't it?
it does, yeah. The council hasn't voted on this. This is staff's recommendation. So there's probably more questions from the council.
I was gonna say, can't we work something out with him since this was just 2 years ago? I mean,
As far as the billing, that typically lags 2 to 3 years behind the project, and then I believe we still have to work out payment plans if somebody can't pay it all at one time.
I mean, it's practically brand new. It's only 2 years old in front of his house. I know you can't not leave it there and go piece by piece. It has to be all the same. But since it's right in front of his house, it's practically brand new. I think there's something we can work out with a discount for that.
I mean, I guess we could look at it. I would defer to council on whether we would offer a discount. I don't think we would want to do that at staff level as a policy, but.
Well, no, but I mean, in this particular case,
We can look at it and.
everybody's individual, you know.
Yeah.
That'd be my thought and recommendation.
I mean, I've got pictures if you guys would like to see it. I mean,
What's your address, sir?
34 North Broadway. So I just have a hard time paying an assessment that, you know, we pay, like I said, a fair amount of taxes on that property already. And we have all the things listed in here already are being taken care of. I've got separate drainage farther down my driveway. My driveway slopes down. So I've got drainage that goes out the back already on that. I just don't see a need for it at my particular property. I know the roads and the curbs are worse farther down the street, but at my property, that's not the case. That's all I have to say.
Pat?
Thank you.
Josh, did you pay for the curb a couple years ago?
No, that was part of the sewer work that was done for the water main. The water main was leaking there for my property.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Are there any other comments made up?
Step forward, please, sir.
My name is Dan McGarrigle. I'm a recent transplant to Joliet, bought property at 3 North Broadway. And I'm here trying to gather the information about how this is all going to take place. If you look at Broadway, runs north-south. But if you're doing construction on Broadway, tearing it up, people on the east side of Broadway, how do they navigate down the street if it's all torn up? Because there's a really great slope going down to the, what is it? I've forgotten the street name that is parallel to the river.
Bluff?
Bluff Street. So in this scenario, how much of the street is going to be torn up? Is there going to be some way for the people on the east side of the street to be able to navigate to and from work and be able to access their homes.
Right.
I live on the north side or west side, but I'm curious how this is going to play out. And
Sure.
I was also wondering, how long do we expect this to last? How long do you expect this project to take?
Okay, so the road remains open during construction for garbage collection emergency services, also resident access. There will be times when access to the driveway is not available. So during working hours, we ask that property owners park on neighboring streets, but then they can park in front of their property at the end of the workday. Generally, it's going to be a couple of weeks where they're not going to have access to the driveway. If somebody has a need, if there's a disabled person, we do temporary ramps so that they can get in and out of their driveway. When the driveway aprons are poured, you obviously can't drive on the concrete for several days. So, we can work with anyone if they have a special need to get in front of their property. But the road does remain open. During working hours, we ask that people don't park there because there's construction equipment operating there. Project of this nature is probably in the 1 month range, depending on what conditions are encountered. But again, there will be access for all the properties at all times generally.
When do we expect to start seeing construction start?
This is going to be probably later in the summer, late summer. I think is the schedule. Late summer, early fall.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak under the public hearing? Let the record show the hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve said ordinance?
Did we get an answer first to Councilwoman Coleman's question about billing for that specific property?
If we were gonna do that, we probably should table this tonight. Is that gonna throw off any timetable, Greg?
Yeah, that would potentially throw off our construction schedule for bidding. The suggestion would be if we're going to do that, I would say go ahead and approve this, and then we can work with the property owner and look at the curb there and see if there's anything to do. I will say in the past, if a property owner, say last year, paid through the sidewalk program, they have their driveway redone or something of that nature, we have made credits. Sounds like this was part of a city project. I can investigate that and provide a report to council if you'd like.
Question there?
Yes.
And Greg, part of this project is required with the sewer separation of the EPA that started many, many years ago, that we have to separate out storm sewer from sanitary.
That's correct. We're doing that all throughout the city on these road projects, and we encounter we do it there as well. My understanding is there is some combined remaining on the street as well.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion approved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Guerrero,
Aye.
Councilman Hugg,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
With the understanding that they're going to work with these homeowners here, I will vote aye. Otherwise, I will deny it. But I'm confident that they'll work with you, so I'll vote aye.
I feel the same. Aye.
Greg, can you exchange your information with the owners here of 34 North Broadway?
Yes.
Thanks. I vote aye.
And
It has to be
Councilwoman
done.
Gavin,
Aye.
motion carried. Next is Council Memo 62-23, public hearing for the request for approval of an ordinance establishing the 2023 Joliet Special Service Area Number 2, Cora Street, Frank Avenue through Russell Street. This is a public hearing, so comments are in order at this time.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak in this item?
Let the record show the hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve said ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hugg,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon,
Aye.
Councilman Clement,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin, Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Okay, so next we have, motion carried on that one. We have next, Council Memo 63-23 is a public hearing for and request for approval of an ordinance establishing the 2023 Joliet Special Service Area Number 3, Stone Street, North Center Street through North Hickory Street. This is a public hearing, so comments are in order at this time.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak in this item?
Let the record show the hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve said ordinance?
So move.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon,
Aye.
Councilman Clement,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin, Councilman Guerrero,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
motion carried. We have next, ordinances and resolutions. Under ordinances, we have Council Memo 65-23 ordinance amending number 3 development agreement for auditorium building at 150 North Chicago Street. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I can speak just very briefly on this, because this came through the Economic Development Committee. Terry probably remembers this too, but this was what, about 5 years or 4 years ago, Terry? We're not creating, this is not a new economic development agreement. At the time, with a developer, we couldn't extend it. He was already doing a couple of buildings, and then our economic development director at the time was very supportive, encouraged him to consider another building, which he did do. But we couldn't align them because we needed the state to give the extension. So we couldn't put in writing at the time something that didn't exist. And then it got bogged down in the state with the extension of the existing TIF, and not the new TIF around it. And finally, the state, it made it to the floor and it was approved. That's all we're doing, is aligning the agreement with the TIF. That's all we're doing.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. There's a motion and second to approve. Councilman Mudrin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon,
Aye.
Councilman Clement,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Did you want to speak? Mr.
Thank you, so I understand it's approved.
Yes.
Okay. No, I just wanted to thank Caesar for all the work you've done. We've worked very closely together. I want to thank City Manager Caparelli. As everyone's aware, the Barber Building was done because of this, right? Because of this situation. And I just wanted to thank Councilman Hug. I don't know if you all know what you have in Councilman Hug, but there isn't a lot of people that have the capability to really take apart a real estate transaction, a very complex real estate transaction. And the last thing it's a very big moment for me. I don't, you all are just kind of looking at this moment and this man here standing here, but, there's a long story of our city's history that is down there with these buildings, right? And the auditorium building is our city leaders, Woodruff, and many of the other city leaders were in that church and also in the Universal Church, and also held their city council meetings there during some times when there was different construction projects. The city leader Woodruff has the Sullivan Building, Barber. Two of the mayors were barbers. I think you've probably seen that walking down the hallway. And that building, the Barber Building, that was completed because of this problem that I took on, and we got that finished. That was the preeminent business center in Joliet. So we're all standing here today, thankfully, because of being able to solve a lot of problems this is kind of the culmination, I guess I should say. And the last thing I just want to say is to thank God, because I spent 14 years, several of those years I put myself up, nearly put myself in bankruptcy in 2010. I should have been. I never should have made it out. And you can't imagine the amount of coincidences that the reasons why I'm standing here today, and I made it. And I was literally wondering where I was going to put my furniture for about a year and a half or 2 years. So I just want to thank God for this moment, because it's one of the most important moments of my life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Council Memo 66-23, ordinance amending number 1 development agreement for Monroe Building at 20 East Cass Street. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 67-23, ordinance associated with Denler subdivision, Unit 2. This includes ordinances approving the extraterritorial review of a preliminary plat, final plat, and recording plat of Denler subdivision, Unit 2. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve.
I have a question,
Councilwoman
Mayor.
Reardon?
Yes.
Did we find out how high the berms are gonna be?
Wait 1 second. I believe the attorney's here.
Councilwoman Coleman, Nathaniel Washburn, KGG LLC. The engineers informed me that the berms are going to be 3 to 4 feet in height. And we did take another look at the ordinances to make sure we were in compliance. County ordinance for fencing requires a minimum of a 3-foot fence. Joliet's ordinance requires the minimum of a 5-foot 6-inch fence. So we will make sure that we have a 5-foot 6-inch fence or 6-foot fence installed at the top of the berm. I don't believe that the 3 to 4 feet height requirement varies substantially, if at all, from Joliet's requirement. But if there is a variance, I think we can, as I mentioned last night, we're willing to accommodate any of Joliet's requirements to the extent that they vary from our own, or from the counties.
Oh, I thank you, and I'm sure those neighbors would appreciate it as well. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin. Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is resolution, Council Memo 69-23, resolution authorizing use of the construction manager at risk contract delivery method for design and construction of Chicago water connection facilities for the alternative water source program and waiving the bidding and contracting requirements of Joliet Code of Ordinances. It is recommended said resolution be adopted.
Jim, I know you gave an explanation last night. Could you or Allison repeat that today?
This is for the, actually the consortium, so it's not just Joliet. It's for the entire Grand Prairie Water Commission, which consists of 5 neighboring communities and ourselves for a total of 6. And so we're gonna combine all that to be able to have one bidder for the construction costs for everyone as opposed to going through all the different communities. So we're authorizing the commission to do that. The third-party people that we hired, which is Burns and McDonald, to review to make sure that we're using best practice and the city is getting the value for their contracts and we're not being overcharged, has agreed that this is absolutely the best way to move forward as it saves everyone money and time is money, especially nowadays with construction.
Any questions?
Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, and just to expand on that too, this is just for the Chicago portion of the project. We'll be in a Chicago neighborhood. We'll be putting a storage tank under the park. Everybody that lives in that neighborhood is getting no benefit from this, and we don't want to see that get bogged down and lose months or more because it's going to be a tricky situation. So all we're doing is having one bidder instead of 3 bidders, and that one bidder has to guarantee the price, and then he can get his subcontractors that he sees fit, and he has to meet our deadline or there's big problems.
Exactly.
So for the rest of it, the suburban portion of it outside the city of Chicago, it will be standard Joliet bidding. Am I correct, Allison?
For the Joliet portion.
Yeah, that's correct. So the CMAR delivery method would only at this point be recommended for the connection facilities in Chicago due to the complexity of the work being done and the very constrained site, as well as the residential environment of the work area. So as Councilman Hug said, this is to maintain the schedule that is critical, as well as to help control those unknown costs that might come with having multiple contractors working on one site. So this would only be recommended at this point for those facilities in Chicago. The commission would still then proceed with the traditional design bid build process for the other facilities like the transmission main and the other pumping stations located outside of Chicago.
And to be clear, so people understand this, there's still a bid, there's just not as many because we're relying on one company to subcontract once they win that overall bid.
Right, so we would go through a qualifications-based selection process for the CMAR contractor that would be publicly advertised. We would review those qualifications and shortlist 3 to 4 qualified contractors. They would respond to a request for proposal and then be selected based on that proposal for pre-construction services. So we would get the added benefit of having a contractor working with us during the design phase, and that will help identify many issues that come up during construction that could have been alleviated with that construction knowledge during the design component of it. So once the CMAR contractor is selected and doing that work on the pre-construction services, we will work to negotiate a guaranteed maximum price. The guaranteed maximum price will be an open book process. We will be able to view then the price that they receive from subcontractors. And so in that way, there's always an off-ramp too. If we don't end up agreeing on that guaranteed maximum price, we can then revert back to a traditional bidding process. But this is recommended. It's not unusual practice. Chicago has utilized this for their work at O'Hare. And it's typically recommended for exactly these types of projects where there is complex construction on a constrained site.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Motion carried. City manager report.
I have nothing additional to add at this point, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
New business not for final action or recommendation.
Joe?
Mayor, yeah, two things. I attended the Cunningham Neighborhood Council meeting, and a few residents were asking about Mullner's tap. I didn't know, Cap, for maybe next meeting, if you can give us an update on what's happening over there.
It's in litigation right now, so
Okay.
we'll be looking
That's
at
that, okay.
So,
Sounds good. Secondly, I was looking at my water bill, and, we put, the city sent it out on the 27th, I received it on the 3rd, and the city ordinance says we pay it within 15 days. I don't think that's enough time for people on fixed incomes or the elderly or just in this climate. So I was wondering if anybody had any input, but maybe we can kick this back to land use and legislation and maybe review this ordinance. The ordinance is section 31-70 A and B. Thank you, Ellison, for getting that. And I know Kevin Singh said if it does go back to land use and legislation, he'd like to have some input on adding a few things to that to help with this billing process. But I just don't think 15 days is enough time for the general public here in the city. So that's just my thoughts.
And Jen, you may know, it used to be much longer than 15 days, I believe, the grace
Yeah,
period.
it was. Yeah, there was a grace period, a 30-day grace period, actually. And, but I would agree with that. And if Ken wants to look at other bills that maybe we could do the same thing with those if they're having issues that we probably should talk to the building department and see, exactly if we need to tweak some of the other bills or if this is feasible or if it's going to mess up their billing. I don't know. So good idea. I think it's a good idea, but I think we need to investigate further.
And yeah, just if we get more discussion,
Right.
if we kick it to land use.
I agree.
All right, thank you. Betty? Caesar?
Well, I guess similar with what Councilman Clemens said. I spoke with Kevin Singh not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and talked about the kind of operating procedures for how we determine which water bills have been kind of defaulted on, which residents are behind by how long, in determining how we implement water shutoffs. So there's a lot of kind of leeway right now. It's kind of up to the discretion of city staff to determine, which residents are having legitimate issues being able to pay, and which are kind of just defaulting, through negligence. So I think this kind of fits in within a broader conversation about kind of formalizing those operating procedures. So I'd be interested to see that also.
Larry?
I would just say to both Councilman Clement, good idea. Anything to help the people to be able to, especially during struggling, times when we struggle. So you would have my support, Councilman.
Terry?
Nothing.
Pat?
No.
Jan?
No.
Sherry? Just one thing, and it was talked about earlier, Chief, if you want to come forward. Last Wednesday, the February 1st, there was a fire. I think there were 2 fires in 2 days, but we had a fire at the Patrick Haley Mansion. It was covered not only locally, but by Chicago media. Chief, if you can give kind of a breakdown on how many units responded and kind of update people on what happened over there.
Yes, at 3:45 last Wednesday, I believe it was, I got a call for heavy smoke coming from the attic of the Patrick Haley Mansion, which dispatched a regular still, which is normally 3 engines, a ladder truck, VC, and 2 ambulances. In the past couple of months, we've realized that that's a lot of times not enough. So we've been starting to dispatch an additional truck company, which really came into play here. So they had that additional truck coming, which the tower was there, and we had a squad in service that's giving us extra manpower to these fires. And it really makes a big difference there. So when Engine 5 got there, they had heavy fire and smoke coming from the building. Since it was so cold out, smoke was actually laying low where they were coming down the street, couldn't even see down the street. But when they got there, they positioned themselves right. Having both trucks get there almost at the same time, they were able to get both of them up to that attic, which made a big difference because they were able to open that roof, which allowed those interior crews to make that aggressive interior attack. Without having that coordinated attack, a building like that with that much fire would have been easy to lose. But I was actually already at the gym. I just left work and I got a phone call. So as soon as I got the call, it didn't sound good. I started heading back. I turned on the radio. The communications were outstanding. When we look at fires or anything, we have big events where something goes wrong, it's always in communications. I knew exactly what was going on the whole car right there. They were the communications between crews, what each other was doing. It was all that coordination of attack that they had is what really made that difference. So all those guys and girls that were there, they did a phenomenal job. Without that aggressive interior tactics, having those extra manpower there right away, could have been a whole different outcome there.
Well, thank you. Great job. Please let your people know what a great job they did. It was a great historical landmark that you helped save, so we really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Let me jump in. I believe this is a new procedure under your leadership, 2 ladders at every fire scene. So it's something new you guys are doing. So.
Yeah, it was something I wanted for a long time. When I was a battalion chief, it kind of felt, we had a fire on Eastern Avenue one time that went the other way. And that's when I realized then that we needed more people on a fire scene. So something I've been advocating for a long time, then now we get to do it. And what I had seen there was we were working at a fire for about 15 minutes on Eastern Avenue. 15 minutes, it was in a void space, just kind of like this. 15 minutes in, the fire broke out. When it did break out, everybody was out of air. So by the time everybody changed bows and got back up, it was through the roof. So that was what was important of having that extra layer, having those people there right now. We can always return them. But having them coming right now makes a big difference at fires like this. So.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Yeah. All right, thank you guys.
Thanks, Chief. That's all I have, Paul.
Next is public comments. Is there, I have one, I have Artemio Reyes.
Come forward, please, sir.
She said, my name is Artemio Reyes, and I want to comment on about a permit parking on Cora Street petition. Again, my name is Artemio Reyes. I'm one of the owners of Supermercado Y Carnera San Jose on 365 Ruby Street, which is on Ruby and Cora Street corner. Our grocery store opened its doors 4 years ago in 2018. When we got the building, it was vacant. We renovated to provide grocery store for the community, offering fresh and quality products at affordable prices. I would like to express my concerns about this proposed ordinance for permit parking on Cora Street. While I understand that parking can be a scarce resource, I do not believe the permit parking is the best solution for this issue. I have taken steps to help mitigate the parking concerns, including starting discussions with a neighboring location to purchase their building for use as unloading station and customer parking. I have also placed staff members outside to manage traffic during peak business hours and post signs inside the store asking customers to do not park on Cora Street. It is my understanding that within the petition presented to the Planning Commission, there were more individuals who were opposed to the permit parking than those who vote in favor. I believe that is important to consider the perspectives of the entire community when making decisions that impact the neighborhood. We are willing to cooperate with the city and the neighbors in the neighborhood to find a solution that addresses the parking concerns in a more effective manner. I believe that through communication and collaboration, a mutually beneficial solution can be reached. Thank you for considering my perspective. I look forward to a positive outcome and continued cooperation between the city and local business.
Thank you. Jim, is that matter coming to the council at the next meeting?
It is not. It is currently in discussion with Jim Torrey, so we're taking a look at that. So it's not, we haven't made a staff recommendation at this point.
Okay.
That I'm aware of, so.
Mayor, if I may,
Yeah.
I would suggest that the council watch that portion of the Plan Commission meeting because there were many residents there that, different ethnicities, they were saying it's a race issue, it's not. There are many people there opposed because of the parking issue of the residents that live there. I happened to catch it late night, but you can get it on your iPad. I couldn't get it on my iPad anyway. Caught it, and it was very informative to me, and it might help all of us make some type of decision. I don't know if that's the solution to it, but something needs to be done with both the business and the neighbors.
Well, Mr. Reyes says he's willing to make concessions, so I would hope staff attempts to work
Yes,
something out.
I think we'd like to have an opportunity to maybe, if he's gonna buy that building, to give him an opportunity to do so, to put some parking in there, and maybe that'll alleviate some of this, and so, I'm happy to work with business owners and community members, to come to an amicable, solution here.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
So I've been speaking with Mr. Reyes for some time now, yes, kind of for my insights on the situation. And I advised him that it wouldn't be on tonight's agenda and was not planned to be on the agenda anytime soon, but that it might be good to come in and speak briefly on the subject as a show of good faith. And I think he's done so, demonstrating that he's willing to work with us as the city and work with residents. So if and when the issue does come up for a council approval for the issue of permit parking, I would hope that we'd give him the consideration that he's making an effort in earnest to resolve the situation. So if we can kind of give some patience there, and I think given enough time, I think we can come to an agreement and resolve this without the need for residential permit parking, which we've seen in other instances oftentimes ends up solving one problem and then creating many more. So.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? Okay, seeing none, mayor and council comments.
Joe?
I just want to say to the Joliet Fire Department, they did a great job and we're proud of you. So.
Eddie?
Yes, I'd like to echo that same thing. Joliet Fire Department Chief Gary, thank you so much. Your department is absolutely awesome in handling all of the both of those fires. So hats off to you, sir, and your staff. The other thing, I'd like to thank everybody's involved who finally got our gateway sign put up. It is so nice. And I would like to, Chief Gary, if you will, any announcements that are coming out of Station 4 for the community up in there. I know when we had our other little billboard in front, Station 4 kept us alert on different things that were going on and different times to do certain things. So we'd like to make sure that the city puts all of those announcements pertaining to the area up on the board. And again, thank you so much for all you guys do and for standing up for us. Thank you.
Caesar?
Oh, no.
Larry?
I would echo Councilman Clement's thank you to the fire department. Great job, historic site. That's a big part of the reason why Joliet is such a safe city. Did I say safe city? Let me tell you about Safe City. There are some organizations that do this. This one's an online, rather popular business, or if you would, financial and investment media outlet called Money Geek. Go to moneygeek.com. They've issued their list after doing research based on data from the FBI on crime statistics, as well as you have to look at their whole methodology. They do some academic research on it. It's rather exhaustive. And they did their list of about just under 300 cities in the country, not in Illinois, in the country, with 100 to 300 residents. And 100, yeah, may vary. 100,000, thank you, Mayor, to 300,000 residents. And they came up with a list, and the top 15, we will give congratulations to our friends in Naperville. They were number one, safest community in the United States. Can anyone in here guess who was number 8? Your own city of Joliet was the 8th safest community, according to this research, in the entire country for roughly 300 cities, from 100,000 to 300,000. So that's in large part because of our emergency services, our staff, even in public works. You know, there's a lot of moving parts, but especially the police department has done a great job. Best police department in Illinois, probably the best in the nation. And it says a lot about our residents too. The vast majority of our residents, they're here to raise families, they're peace loving, and they're compassionate, and they reach out to each other. And this all turns into the 8th safest city in the entire country. So congratulations, Joliet.
Larry, did it give the time frame? Was this over a number of years, or?
This is based on the most recent statistics available, which would be predominantly 2021, and I think 2 or 3 quarters of 2022. And so the list, Councilman, is the safest cities in 2023, based on the last 2 years.
Okay. Terry?
Yeah, I just, they didn't ask me to do this. They probably didn't want me to do this, but last week, actually the mayor and I, North Point, our friends out in the southern part of the city, had invited us to check presentation to the Warren Sharp Community Center. It's on the southeast side of Joliet that does a tremendous job with the residents down on the southeast side of Joliet. I think even when we was down there for the check presentation, some of the kids for after school programs were coming in where they feed them, give them lunch, and help them with their homework and just do many things. And not only did they give them a check presentation, but
back, I think was it the spring of last year, they actually came out and helped with their community garden, actually helped with the staff and with some of the residents in the neighborhood. So I just think that it should be mentioned that they've been true to their word, that they would give back to the community in which they were coming to do business with. So again, I'd just like to commend them for that check presentation, of course. It's going to go a long way with for the community center, and it's as well as just continuing to do what they promised us that they would do. That's all I have there.
Thank you. Pat?
I'd like to congratulate Joliet Township High School earlier today. Superintendent Dr. Carla Guzman gave a State of the District report. Prior to that, they had an exchange of information and services. There were over 50 groups there in the cafeteria that gave everybody from the community a chance to learn more about opportunities, whether it was employment or social services. But she gave a great report, and we should all be proud of them. Thank you.
Jan?
I'm wearing red tonight, not only for Valentine's Day, but this is also Heart Month. And not only about women, but it's about men too. So as being a nurse in public safety, I would encourage all of you to try to get a heart scan if you haven't had one already. It's my understanding that Silver Cross Hospital is doing it again for $49. I'm not sure about St. Joe's, but just give them a call and find out, because they found some issues with my husband last year, so I was very thankful that we got him in there. He's going to be okay, but you just never know. And so it's not only about women, but it's about men. And it's about all of us. Let's take care of our hearts. Take a quick picture, $49, you know, it could save your life. And after that, I've said time and time again, thank you to the Joliet Fire Department, and I'm proud to be a granddaughter of firemen who drove the hook and ladder back in the day. So always dear to my heart, and of course the police department as well. They did a great job, as we said earlier, because I was married to a police officer, so I got it from both ends. But anyway, please be well, stay safe, take care of your health, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
Sherry?
I too will just say thank you to the fire department. That was great. And everybody was so amazed that we did not lose that building, so thank you. And I understand you guys also took the time to make sure some special artifacts within the building were saved or were protected while this was happening, so thank you.
Okay, a few items. January 18th, I was invited to Joliet West as a speaker for the Freshman Academy Career Day. I want to thank the staff at Joliet West. The next day, January 19th, the Rialto held a tour for Representatives Manley and Walsh. And this is important. I do want to thank the Rialto staff. Over the years, we've all talked about the Rialto looking for different sources of money. I think it's really important that they're keeping our state reps in the loop of what's going on at the theater, what the needs of the theater are. So when they do have needs moving forward, that they can look to the elected officials and not just come to the city of Joliet. That was something we really preached 8 years ago, I think, when there was a change at the Rialto. So I want to thank the board there for the new direction, Mr. Filato and the board. I think they're doing a good job, and that was a positive development. January 20th, I was at the Illinois Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the guitar lighting. Councilwoman McCormick, you were there that night. It was a cold night, but a fun night. A couple hundred people and famous musicians in downtown Joliet. So congratulations to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That project keeps moving forward. On January 26th, I was at the Old Timers Banquet. Councilman Mudrin, you were one of the people who put this out. I want to congratulate the Old Timers Committee. Councilman Clement, Council Guerrero were also present that night. The guest speaker was Pat Hughes, the radio play-by-play announcer for the Chicago Cubs. It was a great night. I think the attendance was way higher than you guys anticipated. So
By 100 people.
Yeah, it was great to see people come out and support this annual event post-COVID. Pardon me?
As I saw it all on TV, it was quite large.
It was a good event. February 1st, Justice Kennedy gave the State of the Courthouse luncheon. I want to thank Judge Kennedy for that. Also, as Councilman Morris just pointed out, on February 1st, North Point gave a check presentation to the Warren Sharp Community Center. Not to elaborate on what was said, but it should be said, North Point made a lot of promises when they came in front of this council, and they have been great community partners. They gave a significant amount of money at Christmas time to buy families and gift cards for families in need. They have looked out for institutions throughout Joliet like Warren Sharp. So once again, thank you to them, and thank you for keeping your word. February 2nd, the Chamber of Commerce invited me to speak at their leadership school at the Will County Workforce Center. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce. Two other announcements. There's going to be on February 23rd, we're going to have a community open house meeting on the second floor of the library. This is to discuss the proposed downtown city center square. We had these meetings pre-COVID, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. There were a number of meetings. Excuse me. Unfortunately, the project got sidetracked with the pandemic and the shutdowns, but we are moving forward. That square is going to get built, and I encourage anyone who's interested to please come, give your opinion. Staff wants feedback. I certainly want feedback. I think there's people with a better eye for this than myself or the city manager, and we've been the one in all the meetings. So I definitely encourage people to come out February 23rd. And then next Wednesday, February 15th, at the 176 Electricians Hall, I will be giving the State of the City speech, which I do annually. There is a lot of great news to report about Joliet. And as always, there's usually a big announcement to be made, and I intend to make one on that day. So looking forward to that. Again, happy Valentine's Day. Thanks again to the fire department and police department and working in this weather. You guys are doing a great job. And I hope we don't have closed session today. Are we done? Good, okay.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Bob, let's pick-